Veyna walked through the sterile halls of the research station, her every step met with averted gazes and cautious movements. The air was thick with unspoken fear. Even in her containment suit, the knowledge of what she was capable of made her an outcast. No one wanted to be near her. No one dared. She had long since stopped trying to explain. The first time she touched another living being, it had been an accident. A brush of fingers, and they had frozen solid, dead before they hit the ground. Panic followed. Restraints. Isolation. Scientists probing, questioning, only for the same result to repeat itself. No matter the species, no matter the test, everything she touched died. The station's security detail followed at a careful distance, as if proximity alone might doom them. She ignored them.
She was used to it.
What she wasn't used to was the request that had brought her here today. A new test. A human. She scoffed at the idea. It would be the same as all the others. They would bring in a volunteer, filled with false confidence, thinking they might be the exception. Then, as always, she would watch them turn to ice in an instant. Another life lost. Another reminder of what she was. The airlock to the testing chamber slid open with a hiss. Inside, a lone figure stood waiting. He wasn't in protective gear. No insulation. No armor. Just a simple uniform and an expression that held not fear, but curiosity. A human. Veyna crossed her arms, her voice sharp. "You know how this ends." The man grinned. "That's so?" She studied him. He wasn't like the scientists. There was no caution in his stance, no hesitation in his movements. Either he didn't understand the danger, or he simply didn't care. "They told me you're different," he said, stepping forward. "That you kill anything you touch." She narrowed her eyes. "I don't need a reminder." He shrugged. "Maybe you do. Maybe you've spent so much time running from yourself that you stopped looking for an answer." Anger flared in her chest. She had tried to find an answer. She had searched, suffered, watched countless beings die just to confirm the truth. There was no solution. There was only her curse. "You should leave," she said, her voice colder than the ice she brought. Instead, he extended his hand. Open. Unprotected. Waiting. "Try me." Her breath caught. Was he insane? Was this some kind of joke? Her fingers twitched. For years, she had wished for this moment. For someone to stand before her without fear. But it was impossible. She pulled off her glove, her hands trembling, and reached forward. Their skin met. Nothing happened. Veyna couldn't stop staring at her hands. They looked the same, pale, slender, dangerous. But if they truly held nothing but death, then why was Elias still standing there, smirking like this was just another day for him? A test. That's all it had to be. A fluke. A delay before the inevitable. She had seen species with regenerative abilities before, beings who seemed immune until their bodies caught up with the damage. Maybe that's what this was. She reached out again, this time pressing her fingertips against his wrist, feeling the steady pulse beneath his skin. Still warm. Still alive. He gave her an expectant look. "Comfortable." She yanked her hand away like she'd been burned. "Stop joking."
"Why?"
"You look like you could use one." Her chest tightened.
He didn't understand. He couldn't.
She had spent her entire life fearing touch, knowing that even the smallest mistake meant death. And now, in a single moment, all of that was unraveling. "You're not afraid of me." The words felt foreign in her mouth. Elias shrugged. "Should I be?" The question hit her harder than it should have. Fear was the one constant in her life. Even those who studied her, who claimed to help, always had that edge of hesitation, that instinct to flee. But he looked at her like she was just another person. She didn't know what to do with that. "You don't get it," she said, forcing steel into her voice. "This isn't normal." "I'm not normal." Elias crossed his arms. "Neither are humans. You think we survived this long by being normals?" She searched his face, looking for mockery, but found only sincerity. The weight of it made her throat tighten. A thought struck her unbidden. If she wasn't what she always believed, then what was she? If she wasn't a monster, wasn't a death sentence, then who did that make her? Elias must have seen something shift in her, because his tone softened. You've spent your whole life waiting for the worst to happen. But what if, just this once, you let yourself believe in something else? A bitter laugh escaped her. Believe in what? He didn't hesitate. Yourself. The simplicity of it caught her off guard. Her entire existence had been dictated by what she couldn't do, by the danger she posed. The idea that she could be more, that she could choose, felt impossibly distant. And yet, here he was, offering his hand again. No pressure, no demands. Just the choice. She reached out, fingers hovering just above his, heart hammering in her chest. This wasn't a test. It wasn't an experiment. It was a decision. She let her hand fall into his, gripping it tightly. For the first time in her life, she wasn't alone.